stakeholders in Ghana's educational space are worried about the limited time given to senior high school students to learn. They say this new practice, where students are automatically upgraded to new classes, hampers effective assimilation of what is taught. Let's engage Kwesi Kwarteng, and he speaks for the Education Ministry. But before that, I do want to, welcome aboard, Kwesi Kwarteng. Thank you for joining us on News Desk.
Yeah, thank you, and a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Now, before we start the conversation, I want to bring something to your attention. This is a letter that a concerned parent wrote to the ministry, and she's saying that I'm writing to appeal to you to review the recent changes you have made to the senior high school calendar for public schools. I am a parent of a Form 2 student, and let me skip to the part where she details the reason. She says, this current change means the current senior high school 2 students have spent an average of 12 weeks in school each semester, or up to a total of 51 weeks for the whole Form 1 and Form 2. My dearest Director General, I believe you will agree with me that this period is woefully inadequate for them to cover the required Form 1 and Form 2 WASI syllabus. And the implications of the change and its immediate implications mean the students will not have adequate time to prepare for and write their second semester exam. So these are just some concerns that some parents have. But first, tell us, why the need to review or change the curriculum to make it this?
All right, thank you very much. Let me say that if you recall, particularly post-COVID, there has been efforts by the Ghana Education Service to harmonize our academic calendar, or if you like, say, streamline it to be able to reverse back to the old normal. And when I say old normal, I am essentially referring to the fact that in terms of, for instance, the time or duration where we write the WASI exams, that was May, June. But if you recall, consistently it's been around July, August. Even if you recall the recent one that we wrote this year, it was written in August, September. And if we look at the consequential effect or impact on that exercise alone, in terms of we writing it in September rather than the usual May, June, what essentially happened is that instead of producing the source or students to be able to feed to the universities, it's also not aligning or is incoherent with the university's academic calendar at the end of the day. Even beyond that, we will recall that in terms of the WASI or the WAEC that we are signatory as a member to, we write together with other West African states. It is important to highlight that it is only Ghana that as of now, we are still writing ours in August, September, or July, August, if we, want to put it that way. And as a result of that, essentially means that we may have to, pay extra monies to WAEC to be able to organize separate exams for us. So it comes with extra cost. So what the Ghana Education Service, of course, largely together with the Ministry of Education, has been doing over the years is to, set a tone to transit and reverse the academic calendar to the old normal that we know, so that we will have students writing their WASI or WAEC exams in May, June, and of course, they also taking up admissions at the universities in September as well. So, that is largely the basis for these efforts. Change. This is not the first time it's been happening. Just parents believe that this is drastic, particularly if you make reference to the letter that you wrote. But if I'm allowed to proceed, I just want to
I do want to. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to lay a very quick foundation. If you look at previously the trimester system that we ran, students were in school for 3 months, essentially being 12 weeks. And that 12 weeks, that means that they were in school 12 times 5 days will be 60 days. 5 days times the 12 weeks will be 60 days. At that time, the NACA approved instructional hours was 7 hours. And so essentially, students were doing 7 hours multiplied by 60 days. But if you look at the cumulative hours that students were doing, considering first term, second term, third term, that the cumulative effect will be 1,260. which is multiplying 180 days by the 7 hours. That's the cumulative effect of the instructional hours that students were doing. But now, when we move to the semester base, particularly if we look at, the discussion within the context of this calendar, what we are also doing is we are doing, semester based, which essentially means that 16 weeks within a semester. So essentially, the 2 semesters will be 32 weeks. And when you multiply that also by the number of hours that we are doing, we are looking at essentially 32 weeks by 5 days, which is going to give you 160 days. So on the face value, one can say that in terms of the days, the previous days were rather, had more days than this time around.
Yes.
But the difference is that we've augmented and corrected same by increasing the instructional hours under the semester base to 8 hours. So if we want to look at the cumulative effect in terms of the instructional hours that students are having with their teachers in their classroom, that also translates into 1,280 hours. So clearly, if you compare even the semester system to the trimester system that we had before, students are rather having more instructional hours, at least over 20 hours instructional hours as compared to before. But of course, we do admit that in terms of, some structural inconvenience, it may occur. But
Mr. Kwate,
assurance.
What you've said now is that the instructional hours will not be affected in terms of this new curriculum.
It's actually even been increased.
Right.
However, the point yes, okay.
However, if you look at the transition from Form 1 to Form 2, it means that immediately after writing the examination, there is no time to wait and even get your results. You just proceed right away to Form 2. How is the ministry? How did you arrive at such a decision? And has the concerns of some of these parents reached your attention?
Yes. First of all, let me say that even the Director General of Ghana Education Service has invited the concerned parent. I think 1 p.m. they will be meeting. If I recall the name as a signatory to letters, one Dr. Celestine, if I'm right.
Yeah, you're right.
So we've had such level of discussion where even today we are going to meet the parent. And most importantly, there's also been some stakeholder engagement even between the unions and parents associations and what have you. But most importantly, to the substantive question, I agree. If you recall, the first years were originally supposed to vacate on 5th of December 2024. And now they'll be vacating 28th of October and then resuming 30th. Essentially, it's not even a vacation, it's a break. Because as soon as they break, the following 2 days, they have to be promoted. And the whole idea is to also be able to make room for the first years that will be coming. Mind you, the foundation that I laid was that we admit that our calendar has not been aligned, for the past years now, particularly post-2020, the impact of COVID and all our educational reforms was a bit coherent in terms of the calendaring that we did. So I admit that, well, in terms of shortchange, one on the face value can see that there's about 1 month shortchange. But if you look at it critically in terms of the instructional hours, that has been augmented for as soon as
in terms of the instructional hours, we agree that that is not where the problem is. But should we not get the results of how you fared in Form 1 before, based on the assessment of that, before you move to another class? That's how we do it. So if you're moving straight from Form 1 to Form 2 because you want to catch up with the rest of the African countries who are to concurrently do the WASI, this is impacting the students negatively, is it not?
It's a fair point to note. But you will also agree with me that if you look at the entire learning process, is not an event, it's a process. And even if you look at the assessment regime is done even with a more or less a retrospective, tone where they have to take into consideration first year, second year, third year, all what they've learned into account before they are finally assessed, largely. So I agree that in terms of the internal assessment is a valid point that maybe one may say that we may have to wait for it. But it's the same teachers that are teaching them, it's the same teachers that we engage, and they will have their own way, particularly when we've giving them a lot of extended hours to be able to augment for when they get the assessment and feedbacks. They will be able to incorporate into when they go to the higher class.
Unfortunately, we do have to run, but I want to ask you, are these this new curriculum, is it subject to review? You did mention that you've invited some of these concerned parents.
I'm not sure it's a proposed calendar, if I'm right. It's a proposed calendar, if I'm right. Okay. I mean, for now, the briefing I have is that is all geared towards, I mean, creating an aligned calendar, particularly for the 2025-2026 WASI, and also to be able to, I mean, provide a streamlined number of students to be able to align with the university's calendar. And as of now, nothing has changed with regards to that. And we are very hopeful that as we stick to this, we'll be able to reverse back to the old normal that we used to have. So that in terms of getting students to our universities, particularly students who are also applying even to foreign universities, and also aligning with the WAEC, the rest of the WAEC nations, will be able to streamline that process as well.
You said it's a proposed one, but Form 2 students may, according to the notice I have here, Form 2 students may leave school on October 28th, and Form 1 students will stay in school and begin their second year on the 29th of October. This is what's happening as we speak, isn't it?
I think the what I meant by proposed calendar, I think it was in relation to the context of how the question was situated. Okay. That, I mean, will they be subject to, or will they be amenable to some level of changes? Yeah. And I'm saying that, yes, as of now, this is the calendar that is in place. Of course, I mean, we do not expect or envisage it. Just like even in 2020, or before 2020, where nobody expected that there was COVID, but at the end of the day, we may have to align. So yes, I mean, is a calendar that we are all going by. Is the more reason why Ghana Education Service has communicated same intentions to the public. But of course, I mean, you never know anything that may happen, any unforeseen contingencies that may force any, I mean, review or what that is. But for now, this is the calendar that we are using.
Thank you so much. But before you go, so the concerned parents who may be watching this program right now, what is the message to them? That they should just continue with this while you review or, you know, make some amendments as we go? Or that, what's the message? What's the message to them? Because they're really concerned.
You are so excited with forcing me to say there will be amendments or not. Let me be emphatic.
I just want you to speak to the people who are concerned about this.
First of all, for the avoidance of doubt and purpose of clarity, this is the calendar that has been communicated by.
So this is the substantive calendar as we speak.
Well, that's the substantive calendar. I'm just sure you want to play with the semantics, but I'm more interested in addressing parents. Okay. And what I'm going to assure parents is that, first of all, parents are not being shortchanged. Even students are not being shortchanged. Rather, the instructional hours has been increased. It's also important to highlight that in terms of laying a foundation, that foundation ought to be also communicated to parents, that it is not in the interest of Ghana Education Service or Ministry of Education, I mean, just to be causing amendments and reviews in calendar. But of course, it's all part of efforts to streamline and align our calendar to be able to get the best for our students at the end of the day. So, yeah, in terms of convenience, ultimately, I mean, some level of price has to be made, but we envisage that, and is the more reason why we've augmented for same through increasing the instructional hours as they go forward.
And I think this also, thank you so much.
Let me end here. I think a lot of parents believe that students will vacate and come home and the 2 days is short. No. They will still be in school and continue the academic activities.
Kwesi Kwarteng speaks for the Ministry of Education. Thank you so much for joining us on News Desk.
Thank you.
All right.